Alrighty guys, this is from the conversation about how to build an H-bridge motor controller using some transistors, using some diodes, a few other parts here in Tinkercad at student request. So let's talk about this thing. This is the lab under the stairs in the Arduino section. We are under Arduino Electronics. This is a brand new scratch-built motor page. I'll make sure it's linked in the comments if anybody's watching this on video. We just watched the video on the transistor. We are actually going to be assembling this wonderful circuit from Circuits Today to try to simulate a single H-bridge motor so that we can make this motor spin forward and backward. This is all going to happen in Tinkercad, and we're going to go from there. I do recommend the Circuits Today article. It does kind of shed light on why this works and how it works, and will take us a little further. But that being said, let's hop over to Tinkercad and let's make this thing happen. All right, with that being said, I'm going to move this circuit over to my other screen so I can see it, but if you are hooking this up, I do recommend that it stay on screen. Now what I've done, I've gone into Tinkercad and I've set up a really simple circuit. I've actually got the code already set up, so we'll go from there, okay? I've got a 9-volt battery, which is in the, it is under the VCC and ground, VCC being positive, ground being negative of the actual circuit. And I've also got an Arduino here. I'm going to use this to control all of the transistors. You could use switches. There's a bunch of ways you could do this, but I just find an Arduino and a little bit of code to be a very elegant way of doing it. Okay. We also have our motor here. I've also pulled over an NPN transistor and a PNP transistor, as well as a diode, and I was in the middle of actually getting a resistor. Apparently I'm still in my code though. Let's get this thing proper here. Resistor, and let's grab a 1K ohm resistor because that's what's in the schematic. Now let's start hooking this thing up. And one of the things that I find easy when I'm doing transistors is to have some sort of diagram up, okay? There's some good ones on Google, and in this case I'm probably going to use one of these to say my collector base emitter, and in the case of these I'm actually going to connect my collector to the negative side. Tinkercad's nice, it actually has the letters mounted on the part. Collector is going to go towards the negative voltage, my emitter is going to go towards the positive voltage, be facing in that direction, and my base is the actual thing that controls the switch. It's easy to think about transistors as electrically actuated switches. That's kind of the best way to look at these, and we're good to go from there. Okay, so let's take a look at this thing. To hook this up, I'm going to start by hooking up the motor itself, and I'm just going to hook it up to a couple of spaces here. I'm going to line it up so I don't have to change much. Notice that I've already got my 9-volt hooked up into the power rails here. I'm going to label these red and black, though what you're going to find when you're doing this with an H-bridge specifically is that the red and black sides are not quite as important. Okay? Now, I'm just going to slide these over to there and there. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my schematic and I'm going to try to very meticulously work from one side to the other. So I'm actually going to, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to actually go hook up all of my diodes first, and then we're going to kind of keep moving from there out, kind of thing. Okay, so let's go back to our Tinkercad circuit. I've got diodes here, okay, and I am just simply going to hook up 4 diodes, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now with a diode, if you haven't used these before, typically the white side of the diode is going to be facing the negative side of where we're going. And if we look at our diagram, we have diode 1, the positive side is facing the motor, diode 2, the negative side is facing the motor. So I'm actually just going to rotate these around. Diode 1, this is the you know what, I'm going to put them in order of 1, 2, 3, 4 according to the schematic. So this one right now, okay, the positive side is facing the motor, okay, the negative side of diode 2 is facing the motor. On diode 3, okay, I've got the, diode 3, I have the positive side facing the motor. Diode 4, I have the negative side facing the motor. Okay, so these are all going to prevent the voltage from going backwards through this circuit, and they're going to actually make some stuff work here. Okay, on this side, the positive side of the motor, actually I have the positive side facing the wrong direction here. How am I going to navigate this? I'm just going to hook the motor up backwards, and it will still function for the sake of this demonstration. Okay. I'm going to connect this off to diode 1, and this off to diode 2, this off to diode 3, and this off to diode 4. Okay, we now have some connections. Now these diodes, diode 1 and 3, in this case, are, diodes 1 and 3 are both facing towards the positive side of this. voltage, okay, towards VCC. So I'm just going to very easily, and Tinkercad seems to be having a moment here. That's okay. Happens to the best of us. Let's try this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to jump my board over to the other side so that this board is nice and clean, because clean electrical boards go a long way. Okay? We said 1 and 3 were going to positive. And we said these ones were going towards negative. So let's try this out. Okay? Again, I'm going to color my wires correctly so that I kind of know what's going where. And good. Now, the connection on the end of number 1 and 3, these are the connections that are actually going to connect to the NPN, I believe the NPN transistors here. I just want to confirm that because I have two, on my diagram here, I actually have two different diodes. I have a 2N2907 and a 2N2222. So I'm just going to go 2N2222, and I just want to see what kind of transistor this is. And easily enough, hey, Wikipedia shows it. It is an NPN. So 2 and 4 are going to be connected to NPNs according to this. Okay, so 2 and 4, I'm going to go 2 and 4 are connected to NPNs. I'm going to put the NPNs on the bottom of this circuit. Copy and paste. We're going to put another NPN over here. I'm going to try to maintain some degree of symmetry here to kind of make this work so that it's easy enough to follow. Okay, I'm going to put my PNPs up here. Now, my PNPs are going to connect based on my circuit here, my diagram. My PNPs up here, these are the 2N2907 chips. Okay, they are going to connect to my on one side they're going to connect to outside the, actually they're going to connect straight back to VCC, and then they're going to connect to the far side of the motor here. So let's actually work these out here. It's a bit of a process to make this all happen. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to our 222s. Let's go to our 222s first, and let's connect the I believe in an NPN. I've got my collector, okay, sorry, my collector here is going to be facing towards negative, okay, so collector goes back towards the negative voltage, and again I go back to my main diagram, yeah, it goes straight to ground, okay, so collectors go to ground, collectors go to ground, okay, in this case my collectors on these guys are going to go to these collectors are going to go towards the motor, and they are going to go, if this is transistor number, just a sec, let's stick to these guys first here. So let's stick to the 222s. Okay, so I've got my collector going to ground. Okay, I'm going to have my base. In all cases, guys, I'm just going to send my base, and I'm just going to turn these collector wires black. I'm going to send my my base, because the base is on all of these attached to the Arduino. All right, so I'm actually just going to sneak these guys over one space. These guys too. No, these guys can stay where they are. Okay, I'm actually just going to move this wire over just for the moment. Okay, my bases on the diagram all connect back to the Arduino itself via a 1000 ohm resistor. Okay, I'm very simply just going to drag this onto my bases so that I know that I've got my bases set. And again, resistors, it doesn't matter what direction they are, they're a rather easy thing to work with. Okay, so now I know that line 3 here, 26 here, and 26 here are going to be my actual wires back to my Arduino. We're going to deal with them last because they'll get in the way otherwise. Okay, let's figure out the rest of these transistors. So right now I've got this NPN, and I'm going to call this one transistor number 2, Q2 in this case, on your diagram, and it is currently connected via its collector back to ground. Its base is going to be connected to the Arduino, and its emitter actually connects to the motor itself. So we're going to actually do that. Its emitter connects to the side that is attached to digital 1 and digital 2. That is this side here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just run a wire over to that. Ooh, I moved everything. That's no good. Oh, excuse me. Okay, cool. And for some reason, it's not letting me put letting me put junctions in my wire, which is super weird. I haven't seen that in a while. Okay, I'm going to make this a red wire because for all intents and purposes it is. Okay, and that transistor is now, and again, this junction thing is really bothering me. I cannot create a junction. Okay, I guess I'm stuck with that wire as is. That's going to bother me. That's okay. My other NPN, I know from the other side of it, so its emitter is going to connect to the opposite side of the motor. Okay, in this case, this will be, for all intents and purposes, a negative wire, and we'll go over there. Okay. Now, for our PMPs up here, these ones have their emitters, in both cases, are connected to VCC. So we're going to very simply just connect them up. And again, for some reason, this is not working the way it's supposed to in terms of being able to put in bend points into my wires, and I don't know why. It's very weird. Okay. That being said, we can keep working through that. I'm just going to see if there's something going on. There and there and there. Okay, cool. Still can't put bend points in. That's really bugging me. Okay, that being said, now I think we've got all the wires. We've got emitter, base, and collector for this guy, emitter, base, and collector for this guy, emitter, base, and collector for this guy, emitter, oh, I have not connected the collector for either of these guys. Okay, in this case, the collector for these are going to connect to this. Number 1 is going to go back to this side of the motor. Number 2 is going to go back to this side of the motor. And again, for some reason my Tinkercad's not letting me put bend points in here. I would definitely put bend points in all these to make sure they're nice and pretty and attached the way they're supposed to be. Alright, with that being said, we now have a circuit that matches what we were trying to put together, at least as far as I can tell. We've just gone through all the steps, hooked up all the things, and now it's a really good time to turn around and actually simulate this thing. Okay, I'm going to take my Arduino, and I'm just gonna connect my ground up on my Arduino. Yeah, still won't let me put bend points in. Still find that super weird. Okay. That being said, my Arduino is now connected to ground. That's so that we can actually have a decent electrical connection through all things. And I've actually built some code here. My code really simply just sets up pins 2, 3, 4, 5, starts a serial connection, and then it prints the pin number, and then it rates the pin high for 1 second and low for 1 second. It then increments the pins, so it's going to run pin 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then it's going to stop working, and that's okay. It'll show us what we need to show that this is working. Okay, and so we're going to turn around, and I'm just going to connect my pins up. Pin 2 is up here. Still no bend points. Not happy. All right, that's okay. Actually, let's connect pin 2 to pin into our first transistor, pin number 3 into our second transistor, pin 4 into our third transistor, which is over here, and pin 5 into our last transistor here. Okay, and again, I apologize for the mess of wires. It's not how I would like it to be, but at some point I'll get this fixed up and maybe get it posted on the blog. Okay, from here, as long as Tinkercad decides it wants to play nice and simulate it, oh, we're very sorry, but the circuit cannot be simulated. Okay. What you should be seeing here is, I just want to see if perhaps I've got these diodes backwards. Give me a second here just to make sure nothing else is failing on this. I don't believe this is it. This might, if it simulates properly, might blow some stuff up. Okay. All 2 RPM of it. Hang tight. What we might have had is an aberration. And that happens sometimes too. Okay, I just want to make sure my code's running the way it's supposed to. Let's go ahead and restart this. -2. +2. Can I get a +2? Alrighty, so what that's telling me right now is just based on testing this circuit that when I stop my circuit, I show my code, I'm going to look down here, I just have to edit one thing on the code because I realized that I do not need serial print new line on these two. What I really wanted was, there we go, pin 2 active, pin 3 active, pin 4 active, and pin 5 active. Okay, so what this is telling me is that in my code, when I run this, pin 2 is going backwards, fine. Pin 3 not going anywhere. Pin 4 is going forwards. So I know that at least pins 2 and pins 4, which if my schematic is correct, are these bottom 2 on the NPN transistors, I know that these are actually working. When I send an electrical signal through the wire here, through pin 2, I guess through pin 2, okay. No, I apologize. Let's reset this one more time. I just realized some of my naming here. Pin 2 works, and so pin 2 is my very first pin. It is running over to this PNP transistor. Pin 4 is down here. It is an NPN transistor. So I've probably got one of these two transistors are backwards in some way or another. I might have to go take another look at my circuit. I may have actually hooked them up backwards. This is the basic idea behind how you would use transistors to control a motor. The Arduino allows you to control electrically this gate, which can be normally open or normally closed in the case of an NPN or a PNP, and then actually lets you actually turn them on and off so that the motor can move. And then meanwhile, if we're looking at our circuit here, we actually see that the diodes are presenting back voltage. They're allowing the voltage to go through the motor forward and backward. I hope that presentation helps. I hope it teaches something. I'm just going to briefly check the chat that's going on in the simultaneous class here to make sure that everybody still understands what we're doing, at least to a certain degree. And there we go. Cool. Anyways, this is just basically a tutorial on how to use transistors if you need them for one of your circuits. I definitely recommend you try to do the thing, and we'll make sure the thing gets posted so that you all take a look at that. Cool. I'm going to stop the recording now, and we'll go from there.